The Glass Horizon Chronicles. Part 2. The Fracture Wars. The decision to dismantle humanity's warp engines and silence the tunnels was hailed as a triumph of restraint, yet restraint is a fragile thing. Within months, whispers spread across the fractured Earth. Not every nation, not every faction, was willing to surrender the power that had carried them to the stars. In hidden laboratories beneath the Sahara mirrors, in orbital bunkers cloaked by debris, rogue scientists and generals conspired. They saw the fractures not as wounds but as weapons, gateways to dominion. Dr. Elara Vey, now regarded as the custodian of the Glass Horizon, felt the weight of betrayal pressing against her chest. She had convinced the world to step back, but she could not convince the ambitious to stop reaching. Reports arrived daily. Unauthorized warp tests, unstable tunnels flickering in the void, fractures blooming like malignant flowers. Each one resonated with a low hum that only she seemed to hear, a dirge of reality unraveling. The first war began not with armies but with silence. A rogue faction in the Pacific Collective opened a fracture deliberately, attempting to harness its energy. The result was catastrophic. A city vanished, not destroyed but erased, its existence folded into a timeline that no longer aligned with Earth. Survivors spoke of shadows walking backward, of voices echoing before words were spoken. The world trembled, and the fracture wars began. Nations divided into two camps. The Custodians, who followed Elara's call to heal, and the Exploiters, who believed fractures could be controlled, weaponized, and bent to human will. Skirmishes erupted across orbital stations, sabotage spread through solar grids, and the fractures themselves became battlefields. Ships of woven light, the beings of prisms, returned, not as diplomats but as mourners. They warned again. Every wound deepens. Every war hastens collapse. Elara stood before the united assembly, her voice steady though her heart quaked. She spoke of the erased city, of the hum that grew louder with each fracture. She pleaded for unity, but unity was a word too fragile for war. Generals scoffed, corporations schemed, and politicians bartered futures for votes. Yet among the chaos, a new resistance formed. Ordinary citizens who remembered her story, who believed the horizon was glass. They called themselves listeners, echoing her paper on the mathematics of listening. The listeners sabotaged rogue labs, dismantled illegal tunnels, and carried Elara's message across fractured skies. They were not soldiers but custodians, armed with conviction. Still, the exploiters grew bolder. They opened fractures near Mars, near Titan, near the edge of the Kuiper Belt. Each wound bled into alien worlds, drawing attention from civilizations humanity had never known. Some were curious, others hostile. The wars were no longer human alone. Elara realized the truth. The fractures were bridges, but bridges built on broken bones. Every step across them risked shattering the universe further. She returned to the Glass Horizon, walking its transparent corridor, listening to the hum. It was louder now, almost unbearable, a chorus of unraveling threads. She knew the wars could not be won with weapons. They could only be ended with choice. And so she prepared a second broadcast, not to leaders but to the people. She told them of the erased city, of the beings who mourned, of the fractures bleeding into alien skies. She spoke of custodianship, of listening, of the fragile beauty of restraint. Her words carried across oceans, across stations, across fractured timelines. And in the silence that followed, humanity faced itself. The fracture wars were not over. Exploiters still schemed, fractures still widened, and shadows still walked backward. But the listeners grew stronger, and Elara's voice remained a beacon. The horizon was glass, and though cracks spread across its surface, it had not yet shattered. Somewhere beyond the wounds, the beings of light watched. They had seen universes collapse before. They wondered if humanity, scarred yet stubborn, might be different.